Out this video. It's a video that I'm calling The Power of Consciousness. And before we dive into this subject, I guess first and foremost we should define what consciousness is. And put pretty succinctly, it's simply just a sense of awareness or developing a sense of selfhood in an experience that we call life as we know it in this physical form, in this flesh suit that we've been given that has a heart and lungs and a variety of other internal organs, and has the ability to think and to feel and to touch and to taste and to smell and to hear. And so again, it's just a sense of awareness. And as individuals, some of us have a greater sense of awareness and others of us have less of this. And one of the great gifts we've been given as a human being is what we'll call reflective consciousness. And reflective consciousness is the ability to think about what you think about, independent of the circumstances. So literally moment by moment, you have the opportunity, if we exercise consciousness, awareness, to think about what you think about moment by moment in your existence on planet Earth. Now I want to go back quite some ways and share the idea that for about 2.5 billion years on this planet, all that was around were single cell organisms. And as single cell organisms, there is a limit to the amount of consciousness or awareness that you have. It's simply limited to what is contained within the membrane of that single-celled organism. And what happened over the course of 2.5 billion years, these single-cell organisms recognize and realize that, wow, if we come together and commune, we amplify our consciousness. Our consciousness grows as the community grows. And so over time, many years, the human being evolves, right? And at this stage, as far as we know it, in our own evolution, the human species, it's guesstimated that we have somewhere between 50 to 100 trillion cells within this body of ours. 50 to 100 trillion cells. So if you think about that, each cell has its own individual consciousness, and we've created this community of 50 trillion plus cells. We have this opportunity for unbelievable consciousness, reflective consciousness, the ability to think about what we think about. And as far as we know as a species, we are the only species that has this reflective consciousness. Now, within our own individual being, we have this mind, right? And this mind of ours really has two primary components. It has the conscious mind, and then it also has the subconscious mind. And it's been guesstimated that of this conscious and subconscious mind, on a daily basis, only about 5% of the mind is being utilized by our conscious mind. And 95% of our daily activities are governed by this subconscious mind. So this brings up a pretty interesting point. And that point is this: within the conscious mind itself, this is where we actually are doing our primary thinking, if you will. And we can not only think about from moment to moment what's happening, but we can project into the future, and we can look back into the past, and we can learn from these experiences. And we have the ability to create with this conscious mind. Now the subconscious mind, interestingly enough, is about patterns, is about programs, and it's very habitually based. And the interesting thing about the subconscious mind is it's been discovered that, for the most part, the subconscious mind and all these patterns of beliefs that are running, the BS, the belief systems, were established within the first 6 years of our lives, from years 1 to 6, when we are absorbing it. When 1 to 6, it's understood that the brain waves are what we call a theta brainwave. And this theta brainwave it's almost like you're in a space where you can just download tons and tons of information. It's almost like a state of hypnosis. So as a baby from 1 to 6, you're just observing and taking in like a sponge everything around you, and it's from the things that you see and you feel and you hear. So it's not just spoken, it's energies that are coming in. It's coming from your parents, it's coming from your family, it's coming from school if you're in school at that point, pre-kindergarten, kindergarten. It's coming from religion. It's coming from a variety of places. And so you're just taking it in, the good, the bad, and everything. And a lot of those beliefs are probably limiting beliefs, interestingly enough, or negative vibrations and energies. So jumping forward again, now of the subconscious mind, it's believed that 70% of the subconscious mind, which is controlling 95% of our life, is self-sabotaging. And most of those self-sabotaging beliefs have come from those first 6 years of our lives, when we are seeing that there's lack, not enoughness, separation. If there's injuries or ailments, we're told we have to go to a doctor rather than being able to self-heal. There is scarcity, not enoughness. And so this subconscious mind, which is controlling 95% of our day, 70% of it is actually self-sabotaging. So I only bring that up to share with you the idea that while we have this reflective consciousness, the ability to think about what we think about, if we're not really mindful, right, of what's going on, and we don't really yet have the ability to access a lot of awareness, we are going to be controlled most of the time by our subconscious mind, patterns from our past that have been established from long, long time ago, and a lot of them things that we may not even presently believe. So I say this because at a time and space where we have heard a lot about the idea of the power of positive thinking, or the ability to manifest, people have heard, okay, listen, if what I think about potentially manifests in life, because there's a belief system and probably a great truth that consciousness precedes form. Anything and all things that we see in space have been thought about by human beings. And so the thought precedes the physical manifestation of being. So we say, okay, listen, if I recognize that I have this power within me to create through my thoughts and then through my words and actions, harmonizing these, well, then, wow, if I just change what I speak about myself or think about myself, well, I should see my life changing. Here's the rub with that. Most people will try that just briefly, right? They'll say, okay, I'm going to start saying to myself, I have the power to manifest abundance in my life, and I want the most rewarding relationship in my life. And they'll start to speak things about those types of things into their life. Well, if they don't immediately see it, right, they'll go, hey, this isn't working. Part of the problem with this is if we just begin to speak these words into space, again, it's only 5% of our life that is being controlled through these spoken words. The other 95% is coming from the subconscious mind, which are probably, even though you're saying, I believe I can have abundance in my life, and I have the ability to manifest the most magnificent relationship, as I just said, the subconscious mind behind the scenes is going, no, you've experienced lots of lack in your life, and there's not enough ability in your life, or whatever it wants to be that could potentially throw shade on this idea that you are trying to manifest. And so soon after we begin this process of believing that we can manifest, the subconscious mind actually takes over, right? And so it bears the fruit of the subconscious mind and the beliefs that follow in our lives. And people give up on the idea that I have the power to manifest. When in reality, you just have to continue to stay with it. And you have to come back to the idea that you have to be very aware of what's actually going through the mind. And what I mean by that is, you might speak once or twice or a few times into your day that I am manifesting abundance in my life. And I'm not talking about just financial abundance, I'm talking about abundance on all levels. I might speak that a few times into my day. But quietly, in my mind, my subconscious mind, I'm actually thinking a pattern thought that all I know is lacking in limitation and scarcity, and my life has been challenged up to this point. And so that tape is playing unbeknownst to us individually. So, how do we override the subconscious mind? Through mindfulness, becoming aware of what tape is playing from moment to moment. And one of the ways that it's been found that we can actually develop more awareness or more mindfulness is through the practice of meditation, right? And simply mindfulness meditation can be one of the most effective tools. And that's if we want to take a traditional sense of meditation in sitting in stillness and observing our thoughts, breath by breath and moment by moment, we have the opportunity to observe, right? We have the ability to observe our thoughts. And they're not all going to be that positive. But what we want to do in the observation of the thought is just notice if it is a self-sabotaging thought, and potentially that's playing. And if it is, I can notate, right? I can notate that there's lack or not enoughness or scarcity, but then bring myself back to the present moment. And in that moment, you don't even have to yet input another positive thought, but just return to the breath. Because another great gift that happens, that quantum physics has revealed, is that simply by observing a thought, the observer effect occurs. And what that means is, simply by observing any thought or any object, the thought or object at a subatomic level is being changed simply through the observation of that moment or of that experience. So we can soften the negative self-sabotaging thoughts of the subconscious mind. And over time, as we expand our own awareness, our own presence, our own mindfulness, we have the ability to become aware of what tape is running our day. Is it the actual conscious mind, or is it the subconscious mind? And as soon as we notate that the subconscious mind is ruling in our daily life, that's where we have to stop and say, no, I am going to continue to know and believe and know, I should say, that I have the power to manifest. I have the power to bring forth abundance on all levels in my life. And I'm going to stay with this until I create a new groove, a new pattern. Because to speak things or think things only a couple times and expect change in our life is really setting ourselves up for failure. Because to become good at anything, or in this case, a manifester, you have to do things over and over and over again. Just like the subconscious mind has played these tapes of negativity over and over and over again. We then have to scratch those tapes and say to ourselves over and over and again, whatever it is we're trying to bring forth into our life, whether it's abundance or love or harmony or peace, we are going to continue to think and speak those things into our life over and over and over again until the physical manifestation is brought to bear. Because again, consciousness precedes form, but it's all governed by what aspect of your mind is actually in control at that moment. The conscious mind where we can create, or the subconscious mind. That's a lot, but I guess I'm trying to get you to understand that left unchecked, your subconscious mind is probably going to be running the show. And I want you to recognize that for that to be halted, we have to gain more conscious awareness of what we are thinking, speaking, and doing in each moment. And if we can align our thoughts, words, and actions in the direction that we intend our lives to go, and we continue to do this over and over again, we have this unbelievable power within our own consciousness. And if we as individuals can wake up to the potential and the power within our own consciousness, this can be amplified within communities of individuals who are attempting to wake up through practices like meditation and mindfulness. And you're one of those individuals who are doing this. So I encourage you to continue to do this. And there are so many other thoughts that can relate to just these ideas that we're talking about today, but I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information beyond what we've already talked about. And I hope it's kind of makes sense of what I've said. You have a lot of power and potential within you, but to recognize your ability to utilize your conscious mind and take the 5% that is and get it to override the 95 that may be wanting to self-sabotage, you got to be with it. You got to be mindful. You got to be present. You got to use reflective consciousness and choice ability to say, I'm moving from the subconscious self-sabotaging thought to the conscious thought, comes through awareness. And we develop more awareness by sitting in things like meditation and just practicing mindfulness on many, many levels. This is our thought for the day. I hope it's been of great value to you. May you have an incredible day wherever you are, and I'll be back again soon with another video. If you have any questions or comments about what I've just shared, please put them in the comments box below, and I'll make sure to answer them as best as I can. Thanks a lot.